This is Sports Charlotte, the podcast about sports in Charlotte. My name is Herb White. I am editor-in-chief of the Charlotte Post. And this is Cameron Williams, who is a staff reporter and office jokester at the Post. What's up? It's June 13th, Friday the 13th, 2023. It's supposedly a bad luck day.
It is Friday the 13th. I didn't even realize that. Well, what's up? What's down? What's trending? What's up? The NBA draft. We'll talk about that. That's right around the corner. What's down is Charlotte Ascent. They got hosed.
Carolina
Ascent. Sorry. They got hosed. I'll let you open up this conversation because I'm a little bit passionate about it. What was your takeaways from the Ascent getting beat in the semifinals to Fort Lauderdale?
Yep. Yeah, it was an unfortunate circumstance. I was traveling at the time, and it was a controversial goal in extra time by the Ascent, where anybody and everybody who has an interest in this, whether it's journalistic or rooting, like Fort Lauderdale was clearly offside, but the game officials didn't see it that way, allowed the goal,
Weren't paying attention.
and the Ascent were sent packing. And in the post-game comments, Ascent coach Philip Poole showed great restraint. I got to give him credit for that, because to have your season ended on such a controversial non-call, most people would have been a little livid and probably violently so. And credit to him, but you could tell he was not happy with the way that was officiated, and he was not happy that his team's season was ended on such a call.
Well, here's my little tangent, and I know we've talked about it on here before. Refs have to be held accountable. Those refs that officiate that game, every last one of them needs to be canned. Can them. You can't be that bad at your job and not have some repercussion. I mean, whether it be basketball, football, there are calls that impact the game in severe ways as such as this. You can't be that poorly, I guess, just either not paying attention or, I mean, the coach said almost 2.5 yards offside. It wasn't like it was close. Now, this could also lead to the discussion about VAR.
Yeah.
Is there a way to implement that in this league and with some of the facilities that they play at? How could that be done?
That, I would imagine, is going to be a discussion that they have to have, because any top flight league the world over is using VAR for the most part, men and women. And to not have that in place is mind-boggling. And I guess it takes a crisis for the conversation to start. Everything is fine until you actually need it. And to me, that should be job one in the off season, is moving that concept of getting video review or something similar to that, to be able to take that closer look at these types of incidents and making sure that you get the correct call. Because your reputation is at stake when the major European leagues, MLS, NWSL, they're all using it, and to be caught outside without it is not a very good look for USL Super League.
As the co-captain Taylor Porter is much more, like you say, restrained and better than I am, because she said after the game that they had to stay mentally focused. It's the 120th minute. You can't get lax, and you can't rely on the refs to help you. Sorry, but Taylor, you're wrong. That's their job. Their job is to be there to ref the game properly And if you got a chick that's 2 body lengths offside, it's their job to, in that instance, help the team that is at the disadvantage because they're breaking a rule. Can them.
Well, I would agree with Taylor in the instance that you're not going to get a whole lot of sympathy from anyone other than those who support you in that instance. It's not like the Ascent didn't have chances during regulation or extra time, that kind of thing. So you have to take care of business when opportunities arise. Does getting hosed make it any easier? No. But to that point, you still have to be able to handle your business so that it doesn't get to the position where something like this can unravel what has been otherwise a great season.
Yeah, but to me, it doesn't take away from the fact that the refs are there to do their job. Do it properly. You can't botch a call that huge. You can't do it.
But they do, and that's why it's so important to have a video replay system in place so that the rest of the world can get a look at this and make some determination, or at least being able to say, you know what, that call is as wrong as 2 left shoes. You need to reel that back in.
Take soccer out of the equation. Let's go to basketball. You're going to say a foul is subjective when, for instance, you have a player, and not taking away how great of a season he had, but SGA gets some calls. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Thunder. He gets a lot of calls and a lot of feathery touch foul calls, but 2 plays later on the other end of the floor, whether it be Indiana, Denver, Minnesota, whoever they've played to this point, and they let Oklahoma City play that physical brand of defense, it's the same thing. You're choosing what's a foul and what's not a foul. The rule book states what's a foul, and it's an advantage gain. That's not something that should be incredibly subjective. So, like I said, these refs need to be held accountable, dock their pay, not let them. I don't know what you can do other than, like I said, can them. But what I can say, go Tampa Bay this weekend. Lay it to them. Crush them.
Well, but either way, the Ascent are finished. But they're not finished with making news because also part of this week's news cycle, it was announced that they will play Angel City FC July 26th out in Los Angeles. Only the second time that an NWSL team and the USL Super League club have met in a match. And so that is a good deal, I think, for both sides, but especially for USL Super League because it is brand spanking new. This is their first season. And I guess because of that newness, they're not necessarily being taken as seriously as NWSL. And if you look back at the history of American professional sports, when there's been competing leagues, top tier, generally at some point, one either goes out of business or there's a merger of sorts. And I can't help but think, could this be the start of something along those lines? Now, granted, there isn't a bidding war for talent yet, but if that were to happen, where the 2 leagues were upping the ante in terms of who gets paid and all the other stuff, then we might get to that point. But I think at this stage, it's a friendly between Angel City and Carolina, and why not? Just to see where the 2 leagues stack up. And if the Ascent are interested in carrying the banner high for USL Super League, I think they will take that seriously. And if Angel City is out there representing NWSL, they want to put a beat down on them just to let them know that the better soccer is played in that particular league. I think that it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. It's next month, so it's not that far away.
It'll be great, but all I can say is let's hope there's VAR.
Well, it's a friendly. Not so sure if that would.
I've seen
matter.
some friendlies that are not so friendly.
Well, yeah, that's true too. That's true too.
So, let's talk about another ball you dribble, but this one with your hands.
Mm-hmm.
NBA draft right around the corner, week and a half, 2 weeks away. Who do the Hornets need to get? I know we've kind of glazed over this topic before. There's been some new mocks come out, some players rising, some players falling a little bit. Who are the Bucks getting?
I couldn't tell you for sure, but when we have had this conversation in the past, and maybe you thought I was half joking, but I said Kon Knueppel would be, it would just be so on target for the Hornets to go out and draft him. Not to say that he would be a bad player,
Yeah,
but he's not a franchise changer. At least not to me at this stage.
There's no franchise changers in this draft besides Cooper Flag.
Fair point. Fair
So,
point.
I mean,
But could he improve the Hornets? Maybe we should step to that level. Can he improve them markedly?
oh yeah. I mean, Lord knows, and everybody that listens to this podcast know I'm the resident Duke fan around here. If it weren't for Kon Knueppel, I don't think that team comes close to sniffing the Final Four. Kon just is one of those glue guys. He doesn't have to be the star. Clearly, I mean, you were playing alongside Cooper Flag, but he's the glue guy. He does all the dirty work, getting the 50-50 loose balls, making the big shot when you need it, making a key three that shifts momentum or gets a steal. I like it. I mean, I don't know. There's some mocks that think he won't be available for the Hornets to pick at 4. Right now they're saying San Antonio, that's their biggest need is a guy like Kon. Will they go for Knueppel? Who knows? A lot of early mocks and things that people come out with, and that's all they are, is sheerly guesstimation. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them said that they'd pick Dylan Harper from Rutgers, and that's another really... I guess he's a player that the Hornets could use and utilize, but I think Kon fits the roster a little bit better than Ace Bailey at 3rd. And then the Hornets, the person that would fill their biggest need is Dylan Harper, according to ESPN. But the pick with the best value that they think could be there was Kon Knueppel.
So what is the Hornets' biggest need? Because I look at that roster and I'm like, okay, where do you want to start? What are the needs, and who best fits what they need? I mean, because to me, one of the things that I've learned in watching the NBA playoffs this year is the successful teams play a certain brand of physicality. They play with physicality, they play with pace. The Hornets are pretty good at the pace as long as a certain point guard is available to play. And the physicality, I'm not so sure about that part. A couple of guys are pretty physical. I think Miles Bridges would fit in a physical scheme. I think Mark Williams would. I'm not so sure about the rest.
I think Brandon Miller can be. If you're talking about the upcoming draft, Kon can meet that. I mean, in my recent years, or just in recent years watching Duke basketball, this past year was one of the more physical teams that they've had. And John Shire, since he took over for Coach K, he's had some pretty physical teams. This was one of the more physical teams. Kon lived up to that. Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey both. I mean, they both played for Rutgers. They both played very physical defense. I have seen some mocks that think the Hornets could take Kamal Malawatch from Duke, the 7'2 center. Not seeing the physicality there quite yet.
Another Duke center, huh?
I'll be honest, he's better than Mark.
I like Mark Williams.
I mean, I like Mark, but I think Kaman's upside is a lot higher. He can shoot the three, and I know some people say, "Oh, he only shot such and such percent." Like, he wasn't taking threes. That just wasn't what Coach Shire was asking him to do. But in the combine workouts, I think he went like 7 for 11 or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, he can shoot. And so to have that asset at 7'2" with his lob threat ability, his rim protecting, just as good, if not better, a rim protector than Mark. So I think the upside's there. I think he's still a little raw, a little wet behind the ears, as the old adage goes. But if you can't get Harper or Kon, it's a good fallback option.
I think Knueppel will probably be there for. I would think.
I mean, I personally, I hope so because, I'll say this. Either Harper or Kon will be there at 4. If the Spurs decide to go Knueppel at 2, Harper, I don't think Philadelphia is going to take Harper at 3. And who knows? I mean, there might be crazy draft pick trades on the night of. But as it stands right now, I think one of those two will be available. And quite frankly, I hope it's Kon. I just think he fits better.
The other side of draft night, like you mentioned, is the possibility of trades. And that is going to be interesting, I think, too, because you hear the national media folks talking left and right about movement, moving contracts, and do you give up draft assets in the meantime? So could the Hornets be players when it comes to trades, whether it's contract for contract or contract for contracts, as well as draft assets? Do they have anything worth dealing?
LaMelo Ball in the 4th pick for number 1 overall.
Dallas will never go for that. They'll never go for that.
Well, I mean, let's face it. They lost Luka. You could insert a point guard like LaMelo, and I just have a weird suspicion he'd play a lot more in Dallas too.
Maybe because the expectations are higher.
Maybe it's because he
just played for an NBA title last year.
Maybe it's because he wouldn't get injured.
Or he could play through it.
Yeah, you can play injured. You can't play hurt. Big difference.
Yeah.
He's always injured.
But is that the only asset? I mean, granted, he would be a great asset for somebody. I mean,
that's the only asset you're going to get for number 1. Even if they're willing to hear that.
I don't think that would be enough.
Well, I mean, because if you're looking to trade up or trade back,
either.
Well, trading back, there's some potential there. I've said it all along. I like I think it's Portland. I like it 10 or 11. You trade back and you say we'll give you the 4th pick for Anthony Simons and your pick. I'm taking it all day. Anthony Simons is 19.6, but 20 points per game scorer. Yeah, I'd do that in a minute. But
where would he fit with that group?
You just shift Brandon to the 3 and you put him at 2. Or you could even, I mean, LaMelo's a better passer, so I'd leave him at 1. So yeah, put Simons at 2. Okay. And I mean, this is the age of positionless basketball anyway, for the most part. I mean, you got Miles Bridges out here listed as a power forward shooting threes like he's a shooting guard. So come on, I mean.
Well, and it's not like he's bad at it.
No, I mean, that's my point. So you can, I mean, Cooper Flagg's going to be listed as a 4, but he could probably play 2 through 4.
At least. And if they decide to go really small, and if AD is not necessarily available, he would probably play center.
You could play him at the 1. He brought the ball up for Duke so many times last year, and he led the team in assists.
Well, good passer, good shooter.
His basketball IQ is higher than
most.
Yeah. I can't think of a draft, honestly, within the last 5 to 10 years where there's a player that's got the IQ of Cooper. He makes everyone around him better, and I know we're getting off on a rabbit hole, so we'll redirect. But the NBA draft lottery really gave the Mavericks a gift.
To put it mildly.
Just telling you.
It was a miracle, but we're not going to go get off into the conspiracy theory because it is out there, just like aliens or whatever else you want to come up with. But I think that here today, June 13, 2025, do the Hornets stand pat or trade out?
What do I want to do, or what I think?
What do you think they'll do?
I don't know what to think they'll do, because last year I wrote this big, nice 1,500-word draft analysis where I broke down all the potential players that they could get, and all of a sudden I look at a report, Hornets probably trading for T-John Salon or trade. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and that's the other thing that nobody's really talking a whole bunch about with this draft is foreign-born players. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we get so fixated on what we've seen, whether it's in high school or college or whatever, and we don't necessarily know what's bubbling offshore and how that could impact this draft.
Well, yeah. Well, and if you're talking about foreign players in general, I mean, now he played for Illinois. I don't like this pick at all, but it came across my Bleacher Report or something that was talking about the Hornets possibly thinking about Kasparis Jaconius or whatever from Illinois, and I'm like, please, for the love of everything holy, no. I mean, this we're talking about a guy who's probably around the 10 to 15 range, and the Hornets are going to go below the 4th pick on him? No.
Well, it's not like it hasn't happened before. So
no, what you do is if you want this guy, and for whatever reason, if you really want this guy, that's when you trade back. You get you an Anthony Simons, you get another player with a pick for your pick, and then you can go draft this guy around that 10 to 15 mark. But no, do not waste the 4th pick on this guy.
We'll see how good this front office is. I think the last year was perhaps a preview, and it wasn't a very good sample size.
It was a disaster.
Okay.
And people are like, T-John's still developing. That man was up and down from the G League like 3 or 4 times. And your first pick, that doesn't happen.
Well, but on the other hand, sometimes, unless the kid can't miss and going to get all the development poured into him with the first team, that's just the reality these days. Developing talent is better suited to the G League, and so I'm totally okay with that. If you've got this fairly raw talent, you want to see it develop, you're going to have to get him some playing time somewhere, and sitting on the bench for 70 games is not the way to get it, because then it becomes a failure because the kid hasn't done enough because you haven't played him enough. So give him that G League time, and the Hornets ultimately had to play a whole bunch of people because they had so many injuries. So he got his fair share of NBA time, and let's see what that looks like. But I think that this year will give us a better indication of what that front office is capable of, because a lot of those folks came on in the middle of nowhere. The season had just finished when you're talking about putting in place a new GM. Then you have the coaching search that was, you get your guy, but he's in the NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. So a lot of moving pieces there where that input wasn't necessarily coming until late. And this year, those people are still there. So maybe now we'll get a better idea of what they're capable of.
Maybe, and Lord knows we all hope so, and the ones that cover it really hope so. But I'm just looking at last year, and like I said, and this year I'm gonna probably refrain from doing that big old draft breakdown. Man, I spent way too much time on that. Just for them to pass on, well, Stephon Castle had already been picked. That's fine. But then you pass on Donovan Clingan, and not to say he really lit it up this year, because, I mean, he didn't, and neither did Salon. But you pass on guys like Zach Edey, who absolutely fed Mark Williams. This past season when the Grizzlies came to town, Edey was a monster. Dalton Knueppel, who that whole trade debacle where they wanted Knueppel and were going to ship Mark Williams away, but then that was rescinded because of Williams' physical or whatever. And some of these players that slipped through, Jared McCain, had he not got hurt, Rookie of the Year, hands down. I mean, that man is a baller. You can't keep having, and I know that the Hornets keep getting, to put it bluntly, they get screwed in the draft lottery. But you can't keep making mistakes with the picks you have, and they have a long track record of doing so.
Oh, yeah.
Frank Kaminsky, anyone?
Don't even get started. Don't get started. But that's one of them. Adam Morrison, y'all. See your Kaminsky and raise your Morrison.
That was when I was wee little, but yeah. Okay, to put a bow on it, I hope the Hornets stay where they're at and they either get Harper or Knueppel.
I don't think those are bad picks if they decide to stay there and if they're available. Who knows? Somebody might throw
if all three of those guys
go in there.
Well, if both of those two guys go top three, that'd be crazy. I think one of them's going to land at 4. But who knows? If both those guys go 2 and 3, then Ace Bailey will be available at 4. I wouldn't mind that either.
Yeah, that's not a bad consolation prize.
So,
yeah,
sticking with the hoops theme.
Yep.
The Dick Vitale Invitational is what this new Charlotte Sports Foundation event is going to be called in November.
Yep. I got to give them credit, the foundation. They are constantly on the hunt for events, and most of them are made for TV, which obviously raises Charlotte's profile. And the foundation has done another really good job of adding content to the sports calendar, and it pays homage to the Hall of Fame contributor Dick Vitale, who's been around as a television analyst since 1979 when ESPN was founded. So he's got a pretty good track record, and he gets his flowers on this side of the dirt, which is really really good.
Called the first ever network game for ESPN. The legacy of Dick Vitale is something that really is hard to be. It's really hard to rival. Watching him walk into the arena at Spectrum Center for the ACC tournament, that was, and I've been in the industry long enough now to where it's very rare I get starstruck. I mean, I've walked right up to LeBron James, interviewed him, and it's
LeBron.
It's LeBron James. I mean, it's cool. I mean, yeah, you appreciate his greatness. Watching Dick Vitale walk in there, that was different. That was just like, for me, as someone who works in the same industry, not nearly the same level, but that was cool for me. Just seeing him and his aura, as the young bucks like to call it. So I think it's very appropriate to have an invitational type of event around him, and no better team to play in it than the Duke Blue Devils, because boy, Dicky V, he loved calling games in Cameron Indoor.
And this obviously will not be in Durham, but he still has that exuberance. He's been slowed a little bit by health issues in recent years.
What a fighter, man!
Yeah, but he still has the love. And as long as he can still work, I guess he's going to keep working. And if they allow him to call his own invitational,
that'd be pretty cool. I ain't gonna lie to you. No, that would be awesome with a capital A.
It might even bring tears to a few eyes to have Dicky V calling his own invitational. Make that happen. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, not much really other to be said on this topic. I think it's a great idea. I think it's great for the city of Charlotte.
And it's Duke.
Yeah, I mean,
what do they have after the Cooper Flag run Kon Knueppel experience?
They do a pretty good job with reloading. Cam Boozer, Caden Boozer, a lot of transfers coming in. They're going to be all right.
Yeah, and Texas is a good squad.
Texas is going to be a very good squad. Sean Miller, former Arizona coach, turned Xavier coach right after the season. Ironically enough, right after they got beat by Texas, and then Texas loses in the next round, he was hired as the Texas coach. Anyway, there's a lot
with that Texas money doing the talking.
There's a lot that goes on in the coaching circles, but at any rate, great event. I'm looking forward to it, and the Post will have you covered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully, they give us something better than a meal voucher.
We're going to have to move on now. We're going to have to move on because we're not going to get into grub this far out before the season is even kicked off.
I just don't want a cold hot dog, Spectrum Center.
Maybe we should put in a call to the Sports Foundation.
Yeah. Just a small medium meal. We ain't asking for ribeyes. We just
at least not today.
We just don't want a Spectrum Center hot dog.
Well, hey, maybe we should just eat before we go. On the off chance that it's not going to be up to standard for us. Not that we're that highfalutin.
We're really not. I'm just begging. I had probably 4 hot dogs a week at the ACC tournament. I'm just like, these. All right.
Yeah.
What are we looking forward to? Let's wrap this up.
I'm looking forward to, let's see. Minicamp has already finished for the Carolina Panthers. So that means we are about a month away, 5 weeks away from the start of NFL training camp. It's summer vacation for pro football players. Mm-hmm. That's good. Hopefully it'll be nice and quiet before folks have to assemble for the real fun.
Fair enough. I'm looking forward to the FIFA
Club
World Cup games. Well, it's been quite the hassle getting credentials, but I'm gonna end up getting credentials for this. It's gonna be fun. Catch all of the soccer writers for the Post out there. Myself, Herb, our good buddy Steve Goldberg. Whew. That's going to be one fun press box.
It's going to be something, all right.
But I think that'll be really cool. The 22nd and 24th or 5th? Yeah. Real Madrid's going to be there on the 22nd. Bayern Munich. Oh, man. Bank of America is going to see some high-level soccer. Here comes the snobbery comment.
Is that a dig against the soccer that's usually played there?
Not a dig. Just shoveling a little dirt off the top.
Okay. All right.
Where it's... Go ahead. I'll let you with the go ahead with the snobbery comment.
Nope.
I'm the snocker snob.
I'm not going to get into that because it is going to be a lot of fun. The world is coming to Charlotte. It's Club World Cup. And it's the first of its kind.
Are you ready for that traffic? Oh my God.
I stay ready for Charlotte traffic.
I'll be honest, I'm probably going to get to that game 4 hours early.
That's usually what I do.
I'll take a nap in the press box, but there is no way I'm trying to get there an hour early. No way.
If you try to do that, you're too late.
You're darn too late.
Yeah. Way too late. But at any rate, it's not too late for you to support our work. So go to thecharlottepost.com, become a donor, a subscriber, and sign up to receive our email newsletter. It comes out every Thursday where it has the week's top sports stories attached to it. And we love engaging with our readers and audiences across all our platforms. So you can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Queen City Podcast Network. You can also catch it on our YouTube page. We're all over the place. So support our work. You can access it for free. It is not free to produce. If you enjoy the work, support it. Case closed.
Yeah. He does that better than I do. But for everyone here at the office, in
Beautiful Derrida.
he's Herb, and I'm Cam. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a great weekend.